This After Effects tutorial is sponsored by 𝗦𝘂𝗽𝗍. Hey guys, what's up? I am Nikhil from 𝗕𝗏𝑚otions.com and welcome back to a brand new After Effects tutorial. In today's video, we will learn how to create a dynamic slideshow animation inside of After Effects, and this is one of those tutorials where I will go super in depth, and that is the reason this video is so long, because we will cover a number of different things on not just creating one slide but how you can create multiple different slide and create a complete slideshow out of 10 to 20 scenes. So with that said, let's jump into After Effects and get started. Alright, so here we are in After Effects. Let's start by creating a new composition. Let's go with 1920 by 1080 and I'll set the frame rate to 30 FPS and the duration to 10 seconds long. Let's call this render as our main render comp. Hit OK. Let's create one more composition, which is going to be our media placeholder, where we can drag and drop in any image or video, whatever that I want to use. So I'm going to call this media_01. Hit OK. Let's create one more composition, which is going to be a title comp. I'm going to call this title_01 and we are good to go. So here I have a few assets that I will be using. By the way, you can download the free project file from the link in the description below. So in the media comp, I'm going to drag and drop in an image. So I'll use this image, scale this down, and I'm going to flip this. So I'm going to hit S, unlink this and set this to -51. It's not necessary, but the type of layout I'm going for, this flipped image will work pretty nice with that. Then let's create one more composition and let's call this texture. I'm gonna call this texture. Hit OK. Let's hit Ctrl+Y to create a new solid, call this fractal. Hit OK. Let's go into effects and preset and type in fractal noise. Let's double click to apply that up. Let's set the noise type from soft linear to block and increase the contrast to around 200. Go into the transform property and let's increase the scale to something like, let's go by around 400, and also set the complexity down to 0. And yep, that is looking pretty good. Maybe I'll adjust the offset turbulence just like so, and I'll increase this a little bit, so somewhere around there. Just wanted to make it look a bit more cubical. Alright, so that is pretty good. Now we can animate the evolution. So to do that, I'm going to use a simple expression. I'm going to hold Alt and click on the stopwatch and type in an expression called time times, let's go something like 150. So it's going to keep on animating like so. Pretty simple and easy. Now let's go ahead and create one more composition, which is going to be our scene. I'm going to call the scene_01. Hit OK, and let's drag and drop in our media composition, that is our image, and then on the top of that I'm gonna drag and drop the texture. Then I can hit F4 and change the track matte of this one to Luma matte, so we get this really nice look, as you can see. And I'm gonna duplicate this image, hit Ctrl+D and set the blending mode of this to screen, and we get this really nice look. Now it's a bit too intense, so to fix this I can bring down the opacity of this texture. So let's hit T to bring down the opacity, and let's set this to around something like 30%. You get this very nice and minimal look. I think it's a bit too low, so let's go with 50. So you can see we get this really nice cubical texture effect for our image, which looks pretty good. Let's select all these 3 layers, hit Ctrl+Shift+C to pre-compose it, call this scene_block. So let's type in BK, short form of block_01. Now you can of course rename it to, rename or name your composition according to your personal preference. I just like to go this method this way, so I'm doing this anyway. So here we have the scene1 composition. Now the fun begins. Now let's turn this layer into a 3D layer. So I'm gonna hit F4, turn this into a 3D layer. All right, And then I'm going to duplicate this, hit Control D to duplicate it. Let's create a mask. So I'm going to select the rectangle tool and I'll create a mask, maybe something like this. All right, let's select this layer, hit P, and let's drag this a bit closer to the camera like so. So maybe somewhere around -200 or something. That's looking good. Now obviously the face is getting cut off, but we will fix it in a moment. So now we can select this layer and go into effects and preset, type in a drop shadow, double click to apply it, and let's set the opacity down to 25%. I can hit Control Shift H to hide the control layer so we can see the shadow more properly, and we can adjust things more with more ease. And just bring that into this position. Let's increase the blur amount and bring down the distance to 0. And yeah, everything is looking good. Let's say it's 250. I'm pretty happy with the final look. And then on the edges, I want to create a small highlight. So to do that, I'm going to go into effects and preset and use a light sweep, I believe. So let's type in CC light sweep, double click to apply that up. And now let's set the width to 1000, bring down the swipe intensity to 0, bring down the edge intensity to 20, and bring down the edge thickness to 3. Now it's a pretty minimal look, but it's gonna look really nice, and you can see it highlights the corners and overall creates a very nice look. Now I can just basically select this composition, hit Control D, hit P, and let's bring this closer to the camera, so -500 something. But actually before doing that, let's select this, hit M so we can select the mask, hit Control Shift H so we can see the mask again. And let's move this mask like so into a different position, creating a different shape basically. So I can just adjust this if I want to, so I can, even keep it something like this. I don't know, something that looks good with the image basically. Then I can hit Control D to duplicate this, hit P, set the position to, let's go with something like -800. All right, but before doing that, again I'm gonna hit M, select the mask, and let's move this right over here. We place it somewhere around like so. Looks pretty good. Let's duplicate this one more time, hit Control D, hit M, select the mask, and I'm gonna move this shape right over here so we get some nice variation, maybe somewhere around there. Looks good. And now I can hit P, and let's set this to -1200. Looks pretty nice. Maybe you can adjust the mask again a little bit, something like this one. It's pretty good. Let's select this one, hit P, set this to -800, and select this one, hit P, set this to -500. So we get this really nice look. You can anytime adjust the mask according to the way you want. So if I want, I can just adjust this and get a really nice look overall. Pretty good. So this is going to help us to create that nice parallax between the images. Now one thing that I want to do is adjust the light sweep. So right now if I hit Control Shift H, you can see the light sweep is not visible because we need to rotate it, and now you can see on the edges it's now properly visible. Maybe I'll bring down the edge thickness to 2 here. Looks pretty nice. So again I can select this one, let's select this one, Control Shift H, and I rotate the light sweep, something like that, bring down the edge thickness to 2. And yeah, that is looking pretty nice, I think. All right, now before we proceed further with this tutorial, let me take a minute and talk about today's sponsor, 𝗦𝘂𝗽𝗽. 𝗦𝘂𝗽𝗽 is a VideoHive elite author who just uploaded a big update of his YouTube pack, which now supports the powerful AtomX extension and includes more than 1700 elements. Preview and customize all elements inside of your Premiere Pro in just a few clicks. Openers, lower thirds, callouts, color correction presets, transition, and much more. Everything you need to make your channel look professional and stylish. This pack is also available for Final Cut Pro X. Check the link in the description below and bring your videos to a new level. Now let's create a new camera in order to animate this. So I'm gonna go with a 15mm preset here. Alright, let's create a new null object and let's align this into the center. I can also align the anchor point by holding Control and double clicking on the pan behind tool. Make it 3D and then parent the camera to this null object. If you don't see this parent option, you can anytime click in this area that you see right over here. Right click, go into columns and turn on parent and link. Let's rename this null to cam controller. All right, now we can animate the camera. But before that, let's complete our scene here. Create a new null object again. Call this zoom. And again, move this into the center. Align the anchor point into the center and make it 3D. And finally, I will create a new adjustment layer called this blur. Go into effects and preset, type in a fast blur, not phasey, fast blur. And we can increase this to 20, around 20. But for now, I'm going to hide this layer. Let's do that later on. All right, so now let's go ahead and animate our camera. So let's go to around 1 second and 15 frames. Select the camera, select the cam control, that is the null object, hit P, create a keyframe, go back and let's zoom in quite a lot. So something like this. All right, and let's select the keyframes, hit F9, go into the graph editor and make sure you right click and select edit speed graph. Let's make some room right here. All right, and let's move this point or this handle to the left and this one to the left as well. So we have this very nice animation, as you can see. Pretty nice. We get this very nice parallax. It looks pretty nice. Now after the animation, it stands still. So to animate this, I can parent the cam controller to the zoom null object and animate the position of this. So I'll go at the very start, create a keyframe, go to around maybe 6 seconds, and let's add a little bit of zoom right here. So after the animation ends, we have a little bit of zoom. Maybe I'll set this one to 2 seconds because I think it's a bit too fast. So yeah, that looks much more smoother, as you can see. Pretty nice. We can bring down the texture opacity, that is the blocks that we see. So I can jump into the block, select the texture, hit T and bring down the opacity to 25%. I think I want it to be very subtle. Pretty nice, actually. That is looking pretty good. Let's animate the blur as well now. So I'll go to 1 second and 15 frames, set the blur radius to 20, create a keyframe, hit U. I can bring that keyframe at the very start and then set this to 0. So now we can select the keyframes, hit F9, go into the graph and basically drag this to the left. And now we have this very nice blur animation. So it looks like the camera defocuses, focuses after the defocus. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Now let's create a nice title animation for this. I'll go into the title composition. Let's select the text tool and type in whatever text that I want. I'm typing something like slideshow. I'm using Barlow, one of my favorite fonts. Align this into the center. Select the rectangle tool and let's create a box or a shape for our text. Let's place it into the background. Let's align this into the center. I can hit U twice and reveal the size property. I can adjust the size accordingly. Something like that. Let's go to 1 second and 15 frames and let's animate the scale of this shape. So I'm gonna hit S, unlink this, create a keyframe, go back and set this to 0. Then I'm gonna select this text layer, go into effects and preset and type in set matte. Double click to apply that up, and in the take matte from layer, I'm going to set this to shape layer 1. Now I can animate the scale of this. So I'll go right over here, create a keyframe on the scale, go back and let's scale this up to around 200. So now we have this very nice animation. So let's make this look even more cooler. I'm going to select the keyframes, hit F9, go into the graph editor and let's drag the points to the left. So now let's see what we have. Pretty nice. Now let's go back into the scene one, drag and drop in the title composition, just like so, make it 3D. So I'm gonna hit F4, make it 3D, hit P, and let's place this very close to the camera. So somewhere around 2000 minus 2000, something like that. Hit S and scale this down quite a lot. So something like this, and I'm gonna place it into the position that I want. So maybe somewhere around there. So now we have the defocus and then our text animates. I'll set this to around 1 second. So we have this very nice little animation, as you can see. Pretty cool. Maybe a bit closer to around like 20 frames. Yep, that is looking very nice, as you can see. So our first scene is ready. Now using the same method, I can create multiple scenes. So let's take a look at how to do that. First of all, let's create an out animation for this scene. So I'm going to select the cam controller, hit U. Let's go to around 4 seconds. Create a keyframe on the position. Go to 6 seconds. And let's drag this to the left like so. Now you can see obviously the background image is getting cropped here. So to fix this, I can go into effects and preset, type in a CC reptile, double click to apply that up, and then expand this from the right like so, and then set the tiling to unfold. There we go. So now we have the in and the out. We'll select this one, hit M and select the mask and adjust the mask a little bit so we don't get any cropped edges. So something like this looks much better, and then it animates out. But in order to make it look smoother when it animates out, I'm going to select the keyframes, go into the graph editor, make sure you select it again, hit F9 and drag the point to the right and make sure you create a very high peak in the end so it starts smooth and then it goes very fast like so. Same I'm going to do with the blur as well. I'm going to hit U, create a keyframe right here, go right over here, and let's copy paste this keyframe, hit Control C, Control V, and then I can select them, hit F9, go into the graph editor, drag them just like so. So it blurs as it animates out. Now our first scene is completely ready to roll. Now let's actually create a better folder structure for this complete animation so we can easily duplicate everything and everything is going to be into a proper folder structure. So firstly, let's create a new folder. I'm going to call this 01-edit-comps, and inside this I'm going to create a composition which is going to be media, a folder which is going to be for media compositions. Then let's create one more folder which is going to be for titles. Let's create one more which is going to be for scenes, and one more which is going to be our blocking scene that we created, that is the BK short form that I used. Anyway, so let's drag and drop in the media into the media comp, the scene block 1 to BK, the scene 1 to scenes, the texture to let's leave the texture right here, let's leave the texture right here, the title 1 to title, and then create one more folder, call this 02-others, and then we can drag in the texture, solid, assets, everything into the other comp. So everything is now properly organized, as you can see. Now in order to duplicate this scene, there are two ways to duplicate the scene. The first method is very slow. Basically you need to duplicate each and every composition. So to do that, I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate the scene 1. Now a lot of people do a mistake here, that is they think that when you duplicate the scene 2, everything is getting duplicated, so they drag and drop in the scene 1 into the render comp, then scene 2 right here, and they think that whenever I make changes into the scene 1, the scene 2 is getting updated as well. The reason is both the scenes are same. You need to replace a few things. The thing is, you need to also duplicate the media composition, all the composition basically that are inside the scene 2. So you need to duplicate the media comp, so hit Control D to do that. You need to duplicate the BK1, so BK2, You also need to duplicate the title 1 to title 2. But not only that, you also need to replace things. So in scene 2, you need to replace the bk1 by bk2 like that. Then title 1 by title 2. Then go inside the skpk2 media 1 with media 2. This one by this one. And now when I replace this, it's gonna work absolutely flawless. So I can add a different image right here, scale that down, and now the things are gonna get updated, you know, properly. And the second method is the method that I use now. Now let's take a look at the second method here. So the second method is by using a 𝗏𝗏 duplicator script. Now if you work a lot with slideshows and templates and stuff, this script is going to be a time saver for you. So the way to use the script is all I have to do is select the scene 1, because I have to duplicate this scene and inside everything, and every animation is inside this particular scene. So all I have to do is select this, duplicate selected, and boom, now you can see everything is duplicated and I don't even need to replace things. Everything is replaced. All I have to do is go into the media 2 and add my second image. That's all. So it saves you a lot of time. So I'm going to use a different image here. Let's scale that down. But one more thing that we need to do is also change the way the shape looks and shape animates here. So firstly, let's go into title 2 and change the text to different, something like maybe something like modern. You can also change the size. Let's make this a bit more smaller. All right, and now I'm gonna select the first shape here. I can basically hit M, select the mask layer, and let's move this to a different position. So maybe something like this. Select this one, hit M, select this one, and I'll place it maybe somewhere around there. And then select this one. Let's pull this right over here like so. So basically create a different look with different shapes. And I can also move the title to somewhere around there. Just trying to be a bit more random with shapes, so I can just place this one like so. And yeah, that is looking pretty good, I think, as you can see. Now let's change the way it animates. Now if you remember, in the scene 1, the scene 1 animates to the left. So what we need to do is we need to start the scene 2 animation to animate from right to left. So let's go at 1 second and 15 frames, because I think we did here of 2 seconds here. So I'll go to 2 seconds and let's select the cam controller, hit U. Let's get rid of all the keyframes, create a new keyframe, go back and drag this to the right like so. And then I'm going to select this one, set the expand right to 0 and expand left, increase the expand left just like so. So we have a really nice animation, as you can see. So I'm going to select the keyframes, hit F9, go into the graph, and again just drag the handles to the left. So we have this nice animation, as you can see. And then I can go ahead and add a out animation into a different position. So I can create a keyframe here, go to 6 seconds, and let's drag this maybe to the top. And also I'm going to expand this from down basically. So you can select the keyframes, hit F9, go into the graph and drag this to the right. So we have our in animation and then we have our out animation. And now I can go into the main render comp, drag and drop in the scene 1. Let's go to 4 seconds and drag and drop in the scene 2 here. Or sorry, not at 4 seconds, at 6 seconds. Now let's finalize this complete animation. First of all, we can increase the comp duration to around 60 seconds so you guys can see it more properly. You can see we have the nice animation and a smooth transition from scene 1 to scene 2 basically. Pretty cool. Now a couple of things that we need to do here is, first of all, let's create a new adjustment layer called the CC for color correction. And I'm going to go into effects and preset, type in curves, double click to apply that up. Let's add sharpen. double click to apply that up, and finally I will add a photo filter. So for the photo filter, I'm going to set the density to 10%. Let's add a sharpen of 20 and let's create an S curve here to make the colors pop out. And finally, I'm going to use a lens flare that I have here already. So I'm going to drag and drop in here, and let's set the blending mode by hitting F4 and setting the blending mode to screen. We can also scale this down a little bit, so maybe around 70%. So we have this very nice look. Now let's go ahead and actually duplicate this. And now let's go ahead and preview our complete animation here. And as you can see, our animation is looking pretty nice. So using the same method, you can add more and more scenes to this complete slideshow and create your own unique looking slideshow. One more thing before we end this video is you can not only use square shapes, but you can also use different kinds of shapes. So for example, let's say if I select this shape, I can select the ellipse tool and basically create a circle like that. And let's delete the first mask. Let's select this one, create a circle like so. Delete the first mask. Let's select this one, hit M, and actually let's create a shape like so. Delete this mask, and finally this one, create a circle like that, and delete the mask one, and boom, there we have a pretty cool looking slideshow animation. So basically we get this really nice look. So if I just preview this again, you can see we get this very different and cool look. So this is a quite flexible effect. You can use different shapes for first scene, you can use different shape for second scene, and make a very unique looking slide animation. So that is a wrap for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you enjoyed this video, I know it's a bit long than the usual tutorials, and the reason is we covered so many different in-depth techniques and stuff that I don't think anyone is going to share on YouTube. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this tutorial, then please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and if you're already subscribed, then hit that like button to show your support, and comment down below if you find this video useful. You can also follow me on Instagram at dope.motions. I'm super active on Instagram, by the way. And I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care and always stay raw, stay creative. Peace out.